Candace, Owens, Charlie Kirk. What we call it, not a scandal. Drama. This is the leak. I'm not sure how she got it from what appears to be a Telegram chat. Okay, here's the text. We're going to cover it, and we'll just play. Let her reveal it. 79,009.8 million views on just this clip alone, let alone on our YouTube channel. Probably has 500,000 views. I'll go look.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor.
This was Robert Shillman, I believe. Bob Shillman, a big Zionist donor, Jewish.
$2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not.
Hold on. So you're telling me because
never happened before.
What's going on? A Jewish donor pulls out $2 million. So now he's not going to be pro-Israel anymore. So he wasn't pro-Israel just because he thought they were God's people and they were morally in the right and they had the defensible moral high ground, but because he was getting paid by donors, or because one Jewish donor or a couple Jewish donors didn't want him to invite Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens to an event, he's not pro-Israel anymore? Is he venting here? Is this a joke? Is he only pro-Israel because he's getting millions of dollars from Jewish donors? He says they're playing into the stereotype. If you're leaving because the Jews aren't paying you their shekels anymore, I think that also means Charlie Kirk is playing into the stereotype of being a sellout Shabbos Goy traitor propagandist that's being paid to be pro-Israel. I thought he was a sincere believer, but he's going to say he's going to leave the pro-Israel cause because of this? Because a couple Jewish donors bully you, that means you're not pro-Israel anymore? What about all the rhetoric? What about all the Hasbara training you're doing with these rabbis? Charlie Kirk, who wrote in his letter,
and somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions, that nasty free will thing.
How do we verify the text? They're confirmed. We're going to play the second in a minute from the guy that's in the thumbnail, this guy. Andrew Colvett, Charlie Kirk's executive producer, confirms that it's real.
That God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down. Not in that Hamptons
48 hours.
Explicit, and he did not back down. Not
Hold
in
on,
the
I missed
Hamptons
the
meeting,
super
which they're all
chat,
lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer.
She pulls a Kanye here. She's like, I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to name any of the people that were in the chat group. One of the people in the chat group must have leaked it to her. I don't know how else she got it. And before they confirmed it, I was wondering, did somebody just make up a fake screenshot and send it to her tip line and it's just some anonymous source? I wonder if she'll say where she got it eventually. But I love how she pulls the Kanye. He's like, I'm not going to say who my doctor was. He was Jewish.
Myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
For funsies, she's like Josh Hammer. She's like,
Jew, guilty, you're Jew, doesn't matter.
That's funny. Okay, here he is confirming it's real.
But I did share it with some. But I want to take the start of the show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known.
Yeah. Her and Ian Carroll are trying to implicate the TPUSA team. They're doing a lot of insinuating of stuff going on, of them not asking questions or being involved in some cover up.
But I want to take the start of the show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to...
Made known reminds me of, in my book, the Greek word for Jesus being revealed or made is it's made known. Like he's made known from the prophetic scriptures. He's made known through the revelation of the Holy Spirit and the scriptures.
address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public.
It's a private exchange where he's telling a bunch of Jews in a group chat that he's, well, what did it say? Done it. Well, I want to get it exactly right. What was it? He's been left no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause, and he's assassinated 48 hours later. What would that mean? If people think Israel did it, they had 48 hours to pull this off, and to get the whole cover up and everybody on board with the cover up. That would kind of be the implication.
I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that way, but I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect.
He did share it with their government. Like, hey, it might have been some Jew. It might not even be like Netanyahu in Israel. It could have just been like Shillman or somebody. I'm not saying it was Shillman by any means. I'm just saying, like, can't regular billionaires that just love Israel call a hit on somebody also? But I don't know. The way they did this, it's not like you called a hit. It's not like this Shillman had some PI get in a Discord chat and convince this. I don't know. You see what I'm saying, though? Like, unless they already had stuff planned before, they had it planned already, and he just happened 48 hours before to say that, and they said, okay, go for it. Okay, they had their eye on him. He's like, he better not turn. They had his shit tapped. They're like, he better not turn. I'm just trying to war game this. I'm just thinking out loud. Guys, no, it's not fake. He's saying it's confirmed real. He says it's authentic. So it's like they already were kind of planning it and setting it up, and they're like, okay, he finally turned. He's non-compliant. We've lost him. Time to turn him into a martyr and use his legacy to do pro-Israel stuff. And 48 hours later, it happened. If it was a conspiracy, that I imagine that's how it would have gone down.
And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently.
Got to Candace Owens.
So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public.
If somebody's sharing these clips with Candace Owens, that must mean there is somebody else on the inside that thinks Israel's behind it, probably. But like, are we supposed to believe that everybody that Charlie surrounded himself, they're all like bloodthirsty temple cultist pro-Israel psychos? That everybody around them is involved or scared, intimidated into silence, that nobody's speaking out, that they think there's something real shady going on?
It was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care, we're not investigating every lead, we're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just like, sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately. To be with.
Yeah, all the conspiracy people that are like, well, why haven't they revealed that yet? Why haven't we got that video yet? At least I'm hearing all these people say that the reason for that is because the trial and the prosecutors and the government and the police get all that information. They're not releasing it out to you on the internet to quell the conspiracy theorists that want to see every little detail, but that it comes out during the trial and after the trial, so they don't compromise the prosecution. I mean, I'm pretty sure that is how the real world works.
Family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware.
Yeah, of course. We played all the clips and met several shows of Charlie progressively becoming. It is like Owens and some of these people have been doing real kooky stuff where it's like, look, there's a palm gun, or like zoom in on a blurry image, like, look at this guy, he grabs a thing and hands it off, or look, the trap door shooting, or like all these forensics and where the bullets came from and stuff. But I mean, the text messages with the kid seem sus. The bullet getting lodged inside also is questionable. And then now this too. The drama continues.
As spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, the things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right. But I will weigh in on this issue of Israel because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that
All the World is a Stage by Mossad. Good point, Frog Eyes. A lot of inconsistencies. Yeah, so I think there's reasonable theorizing and speculation, but there's also, I mean, and almost inevitably, if there is a conspiracy, the internet is gonna be flooded with a bunch of the kookiest stuff ever.
We have to let free speech be our North Star here. Okay, Charlie was adamantly free speech. And I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers. All right. And I will say that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times. And I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel.
Yeah. So clearly you get frustrations. Like, I'm caught in between a rock and a hard place with like people on both sides. Charlie was too. He's got Jewish donors breathing down his neck, and then he's got groypers biting him at the ankles, right? So you're like squeezed from both sides. Whereas like one side attacks me and is always calling me, too anti-Semitic, too racist, all these other things like that, Nazi, white supremacist. And the other side is like, you're not racist enough, you're Jewish. And, it's almost inevitable no matter where you're at, you're going to be kind of attacked from both extremes. And in his situation, it was billionaire Jewish donors and groypers. And for Charlie to maintain any credibility, he would have to cave and shift his message a little bit to at least be, something that he could defend. But the Jews could have just been pressuring him so much that he really did get frustrated with them and said he's had enough. He doesn't want any of your... he doesn't want your money, if you're going to tell him he can't have conversations with Tucker Carlson or Dave Smith or Candace Owens, maybe even, although I don't think he really wanted to bring Candace back, but only said that to probably spite them as a threat or something.
And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, in the wider movement about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, like, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's
and all of that could be true and is almost very believable and inevitable. And he still could have also gotten killed by a leftist because the leftists were celebrating and would do something like that. I saw a video today. Some guy went up on the roof. He went to the school and went up on the roof and showed how easy it was to get to the spot where he took the shot from too. That was interesting. Yeah, the stuff with the wife, I feel like is... Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong, and all of the lies and the low IQ anti-Semitism won't backfire horrendously. But I'm not holding my breath for that. I still am not convinced by that. I still see them firmly in control, and I see this almost just empowering and solidifying their control even more. They could flip the switch, and all this can get shut down on TikTok and X at any moment. And I think it's being loud.
Complicated, and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months, and it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text group text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview. Yes. Charlie was not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about Charlie's views on Israel. Like I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, immigration, abortion, the transgender stuff.
They
And
really
he
got,
thought about
what
the
is this,
Israel issue
Clarence
a ton,
Thomas?
all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot. Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this
Called
book
Victims.
because Charlie said, Blake,
Hold on, what is the name of it? Real Victims?
get
What does that say? What is that word? Rejected? Something victims. All I can see is victims. He's like, I read this 700-page book about how the Jews are victims.
really well versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up. And
My rabbi gave it to me.
top of your head.
Yeah.
So I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that. He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war. And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized
He doesn't care about the blown up Muslim Palestinian kids, but the churches, that's the red line.
Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas were the chief evildoers, and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad, like, anti-civilizational reasons.
Yeah.
That's what his view was, and he was public about that. And then as it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives, there was a...
Dude, this is so weird. They're carrying on with this show. They're addressing conspiracies on all of these shows. Like, he gets killed, and it's not even about, like, his legacy or his work anymore. It's all about answering the conspiracy theories. Netanyahu addresses the conspiracy a bunch of times also. This is so bizarre.
Shift to be hostile to Israel. There's a shift big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America, and that upset him. Charlie was public about this. He loved Israel, he cared about Israel, and he cared about how that...
Well,
and he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the crazy part now. Okay, we're going to play that. Is that the same
That
clip?
would make him angry. He would say, "This, yeah, as you say, this is moral blackmail." And he's a...
Okay, this is a different clip. Look at this though. This is crazy. This does not look good, Josh Hammer. Okay? Look at the date on this. September 9th. Charlie Kirk was killed on September 10th. This was one day after Charlie Kirk, who Josh Hammer was in that group chat, according to Candace Owens. This is so crazy. He goes and digs up an old tweet of Donald Trump from 2013 and retweets it and says based, which is trying to talk like one of these Christian internet e-crusaders or a groiper using the term based. And look at this. Donald Trump says should be public execution for all to see. You will end this bullshit fast. And Josh Hammer says based. And the next day was Charlie publicly executed. This was perhaps his retweet that Josh Hammer did right after he saw Charlie Kirk in the group chat saying he's leaving the Israel cause. He's left with no choice to, what did it say exactly?
he had with people.
Leaving no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And then Josh Hammer tweets out this. Then he gets publicly executed. Even if this is let's just say this is a coincidence, which it could be, I guess, does not look good. None of this looks good at all. Whether or not they did it, it looks bad. That's for sure. And I don't think the Charlie Kirk truthers are going to go away. I think I said right when it happened that this is going to be like JFK in like decades from now. If we're around decades from now, it'll be still conspiracies about this. And the Jews are probably going to be all over the news like they are right now, talking about the blood libels and the poisoning the wells and the Passover blood matzah and the Charlie Kirk theories. Pretty crazy, though.
So Charlie writes in this group.
There's the clip we played already. Okay, what else do we have here?
He-
On Tucker Carlson being
He had
canceled.
with people. He did disagree with Candace on the Israel issue. He disagreed with Tucker on the Israel issue. But he also recognized Tucker had positions they agreed on. Tucker was a useful voice in the conservative movement on many things. And so he invited him to events, and they were popular events. And so he would react. Sometimes people would just say, yeah, don't invite him or we're going to, cut off some large donation. And that would make him angry. He would say this, yeah, as you say, this is moral blackmail. And he's this Scottish guy. He's combative. His reaction to that is, the classic like, screw me, no, screw you, that sort of thing.
He had, and it's one of my favorite parts about Charlie is just how like defiant.
Candace was apparently wrong about she made a claim 150 million from Netanyahu in Israel that he turned down. And it turns out it was 2 million from, unless there's more that we don't know about that we haven't seen the proof of. It was just 2 million from Shillman, I've seen stuff about Shillman funding a lot of right-wing influencers. It's pro-Israel Shillman.
An independent he was. Yeah, he was never going to
He could not be controlled by other people.
You could not buy him. He was not bought and paid for. You could not control him with money. It just wasn't.
Dude, he started getting the big Zionist money when he was like 18 years old. He was getting paid and made famous by Zionist donors for a decade.
The way he was wired, he didn't actually care about money that much.
And so what's going on here? What is going on here?
Easy to not care about money when the guy was a multimillionaire, right?
Can look up what the text say. What is going on is Charlie, as I mentioned, he loved Israel. He cared about Israel. He cared about the Holy Land. And he was aware there was a surge of anti-Israel sentiment on the right. Charlie thought seriously about this issue and was trying to chart a path forward for people who were sympathetic to Israel. He was playing the good cop here. He was saying, you guys don't realize how bad it could potentially get. You have to change your PR. That's why he writes a letter to Bibi. You are losing the PR war. You need to change how you do your PR. You need to change your messaging to the American right. You might need to change what you expect from us.
Yeah, it's like, I could see him getting pissed that Jews would call him anti-Semitic or pull funding when he was such a good Shabbos goy for them. He's like, you don't even understand what he's trying to do. He's playing the good cop. He's trying to stop the Groypers. There's a clip of Josh Hammer. I'll look for it. I think I can find it. Josh Hammer, who says that all Europeans have a hatred for Jews in their DNA. Josh Hammer said that Charlie Kirk was the biggest thing keeping the Groypers at bay.
Going to be able to count on just, for example, unlimited military aid from America. That's just not going to be tenable going forward. So maybe it has to be a more passive relationship. Maybe you need to give more support towards America. Some more support towards America in, for example, opposing Islamic migration into America. That's one thing he thought we could ally on. And he was trying to do all of this because he cared about the relationship and wanted to chart a way forward on it. And he would feel angry and upset when people would react to this by blowing up and suggesting he was an anti-Semite or a hater. He would get angry about that because he knew it was untrue. And then because
he was one of the top propagandists in the country, especially with young people, for Israel. And it still wasn't good enough. It's so crazy that a few years ago, I showed this in one of the past streams. A few years ago, Charlie was complaining on Twitter about being called anti-Semitic. And I said in the replies, no matter how much you do, it'll never be good enough, Charlie. Amazing.
Sometimes vent about this. He would vent about this to people who understood that, who were pro-Israel people who shared his view on that issue.
Well, exactly. And just why I didn't share this publicly, it was because this was a private message between Charlie and some people, some Jews and non-Jews, where he was, frustrated. He was frustrated. And that would have felt like a betrayal to my friend because he never said anything like that publicly in like a show, right? He said things with
he did.
That were very, like, we just played them.
He never said something as like final, like he's leaving the Israel cause. He's left no choice. I keep forgetting exactly what it was. Left no choice. Where is it? There it is. Leaving no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Because a Jewish donor tried to bully him. A few of them did. Does not look good. Oh, and wait till we get to the geofencing thing, too. That's okay.
On Alex Clark's show, and I felt like I did a faithful job of expressing what I believed his genuine feelings were.
Watch this one now. Here's Josh Hammer.
Nick Fuentes, that whole... The folks who are criticizing Charlie from a pro-Israel perspective because, he didn't go far enough, or maybe he wasn't perfect, maybe he didn't say everything that I would say or Ben Shapiro would say, fine. I mean, I understand that. Perfect. But I think, felt that he sometimes had to be a little critical of Prime Minister Netanyahu or something there to try to maintain credibility with younger folks, with millennial NG. I think he thought that if he would go kind of full Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, I'm not picking on Ben and Mark, they're both good friends. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if Charlie thought that if he would have gone there, he would have probably lost credibility. And the reality is, Shabbos, that there was probably no single person in America, which is the point that you're correctly making, there was no single person in America who did more to keep Nick Fuentes, that whole Groyper neo-Nazi crew, literally no one did more to keep them at bay than Charlie Kirk. No one. And it is a massive issue that I'm very concerned about in his absence. In fact, here in Florida, we're a Nazi crew, literally no one did more to keep them at bay than Charlie Kirk. No one. And it is a massive issue that I am very concerned about in his absence. In fact, here in Florida, where I live, the rabbi where I go to synagogue, knew that Charlie and I were friends, and he called me, within minutes of.
Oh no! Oy vey, we lost our top goy.
In the news. This is actually one of the very first things he said to me.
Was he still the top goy, or was he being defiant? Was he being defiant? Did they lose him? Did they want to? It's like blood in, blood out. They give you tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even over the 10 years. You don't get to say no. You don't get to bite the hand that feeds you.
Thought as to what happens to that kind of Nick Fuentes Groyper energy from there. I wish I had a good answer. I do not know what the answer is there. Look, his widow, Erica Kirk, has delivered numerous extraordinarily powerful speeches there. I have no doubt that she is the CEO, she's the right CEO, the right chairperson for Turning Point USA. We will see where she takes the direction from here. For what it's worth, I have no reason for thinking that Erica does not share Charlie's sentiments on these matters. If I'm not mistaken, I think she and Charlie actually met in Israel on a Christian pilgrimage retreat of some sort there, which is kind of an interesting, an interesting anecdotal fact, amidst all this conversation about his legacy there.
Anecdotal fact that the Charlie Kirk truthers are also seizing upon to say, oh, look, it's a set-up arranged marriage. She's military. She's, what was the Christian group? She had like a necklace. Guys, tell me, she had a necklace on, and they were saying it was like, what's the name of that group? Yeah, they're not J-pilled if they're worshiping the J, the king of the J's. That's the reality. You're not based in red-pilled and J-Q'd if you worship Yahweh, the God of Zion.
So we'll see what happens there, but it is no doubt a big loss, and no doubt the whole Groyper wing feels emboldened right now, tragically.
And that is true. Charlie died. He was already like losing control of TPUSA to the Groyper faction of the youth, pretty much, especially online. And ever since everybody was tweeting like, oh, now that Charlie's gone, you get Nick Fuentes, or now Nick Fuentes is going to fill the vacuum. They're trying to push forward that one little white kid that's super kosher. He's going on a tour and stuff. I forget his name. It's some weird name. I covered him a couple streams ago, but Fuentes has been having the biggest streams ever. He has stepped into the mantle. He has taken the mantle as like the leading conservative voice of the youth. It used to be the battle between him and Charlie, and then you're telling me Israel took out Charlie, but not Nick, and left Nick to fill the gap. They only wanted to do that if they wanted a huge rise in anti-Israel and anti-Semitism. So that's like not 4D chess, 5D chess.